Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point podcast. This is episode number 27 and it's been a little while. I'm one of your hosts, Lara, and I am joined here by Lewin. How you doing, my friend?
Hi. I'm good. I've almost, as always, I missed one episode that one time.
Yeah, that was the episode that our guest, who I'll introduce in a second, was on and replace you. And if you've been listening, you know who that is. Like with that episode, we have a guest, Lewin, finally.
Woo, it's been ages.
It's been an absurdly long time since we've had a guest on this show. And of course, it is third time on the show now, actually. It is our friend Jacob. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Welcome back. It's been like over a year since you've been on. How have you been for the last year?
Well. Been quite well, actually.
Yeah. We've talked like little bits here and there. I'm just really bad keeping up with people, so we've talked like little bits here and there, but not like a lot. But yeah, how you been? What have you been up to?
Nothing much, getting through day to day.
Yeah.
How it is.
Yeah, well, since the last time you were on the podcast, we've had another wave or two of COVID during that time. We had another lockdown. That was fun. A longer lockdown than the first lockdown.
Was it?
Yeah. I'm talking about the first lockdown in 2020. That was like 3 weeks. For us, anyway.
It also felt like so much longer, but I don't know.
No, the lockdown last year was longer.
Yeah, that was a few months.
That was like 3 months, yeah. I spent 2 months literally at home doing nothing. So I was doing like 8-hour Persona 5 streams. And you know how big Persona 5 is. Right? So like, I did...
Go into at least a quarter of the game.
Have either of you had COVID?
No, I don't think so.
Everyone around me has. I'm not sure if I have.
I think I've been lucky. Like, I got really, really sick, like, a month before COVID initially started in 2020.
I caught COVID the week the Batman came out. So I couldn't see the Batman opening
That's
weekend.
fairly recent.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
let
guess
me
it
tell
just...
Yet.
I haven't thought about COVID in so long, but I guess, it is still out there, and so that makes sense.
I caught it at... it was my brother-in-law's Bucks party. We're at a bar in Wollongong, and everyone got it.
Nice.
And let me tell you, would not recommend COVID.
Yeah.
I'll take your recommendation into consideration. I'll try and avoid that one.
Fun times. COVID. We're still talking about COVID. Anyway, we got a big episode. Big episode coming up. There's a lot to talk about, lot to go through. But the main thing we're going to be talking about is Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which would have been our May the 4th episode, but this year we broke tradition and we're recording it on the 21st of May instead. I think that lines up.
Yeah. Wait, isn't the Star Wars celebration going on like tomorrow or something?
I don't know.
Doesn't Star Wars get celebrated all month of May?
I mean, technically, yes, but there is like a celebration at Anaheim or whatever that happens.
Yeah,
everyone don't come up next week, so...
Yeah, true. Obi-Wan. That'll probably be our next episode, because it's only like 6 episodes long. So, and the first 2 are being released one week on the same day. So, by the time we get around to recording the next episode, that will probably be the next episode. Very excited. It's great to see they're doing press for it at the moment, so it's great to see Ewan and Hayden back, and it's just great to see Hayden calling Revenge of the Sith a phenomenal film. Because it is.
It is.
But let's talk about some Doctor Who for a bit, because there's been a bunch of Doctor Who news in the past couple of weeks. There's been some leaks and all sorts of interesting stuff going on. Lewin and I, we've talked about these leaks, and actually we've talked about all of this, but we'll talk about it again. We've talked about the leaks. I don't want to get into the leaks here because it is a very deep thing. If we get into it, like, we'll be here for like 2 hours talking about it. So, but we'll cover the news and some of the set photos and all of that. So, first up, obviously the big news came out a couple of weeks ago now. at the BAFTAs that we have a new Doctor Who, and it is Nguti Gatwa, who is most known for playing Eric on Sex Education, which, by the way, if you haven't seen Sex Education, get on it. It's an incredible show, and it's actually really interesting seeing Doctor Who Twitter at the moment all going to watch Sex Education. I've been following a couple of people who never watched it until the Nguti Gatwa announcement, and they went and binged all 3 seasons, and they're like, this show's amazing. And he's really great in it. Obviously, he's an actor, and so I'm expecting him obviously not to even, his Doctor to even be remotely like Eric in any way. But if you watch Sex Education, you get a good look at Nguti Gatwa's range as an actor. Because especially in season 1, because in season 1 he has a really great kind of arc surrounding him being gay and him wanting to present in a more feminine way, but he lives with a very kind of like conservative, like kind of traditional family, so there's like this really great arc surrounding that. But like it's really interesting with this announcement, because apart from the straight up racists, which I'll get into, everyone's excited about this. Everyone's excited about it. Everyone was excited. I mean, everyone's always excited when a new Doctor's announced, but I don't think people were this hyped when Jodie Whittaker was announced, because when Jodie Whittaker was announced, it was just a massive political, PC conversation surrounding it, that I think a lot of the hype for it got kind of buried by the conversation of how the Doctor Who has gone woke. Where this time they're trying to do the exact same conversation, except this time they're talking about it being a black person. So, in both cases, sexism and racism are very clearly showing. The difference is this time is the conversation seems to be buried by the hype this time, where last time it was kind of the other way around. I don't know. What's your take on that, Lewin?
I agree. I think also most of the community has gone through 5 years of Doctor Who woke bullshit to the point where we've kind of just stepped over it. Now
it's amazing how all of these people for the last 5 years have been constantly praising the RTD era and how amazing it was and how it used to be, it's the way Doctor Who should be, despite the Russell T Davies era of the show being the most political era of the show. But it's amazing, and I would also argue the most woke era, because believe it or not, the Chris Chibnall era is not very woke at all. If we want to use the buzzwords of woke and talk about that, if we want to have a serious conversation, Chris Chibnall's era endorses Amazon. For starters, the Doctor is literally saves Amazon in an episode from a terrorist. There's that. The representation is pretty bad.
50% of the gay characters on screen die.
We want to talk about woke Doctor Who, and you want to talk about Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who. Like, Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who ain't woke at all. What are you fucking talking about? But
let's go back to the days of a pansexual immortal man, a gay space Titanic pilot.
Yeah, also, let's not even mention just the whole fact. This is how gay the Russell T Davies era is. People talk about how great the Master was back then. These same people. Have you seen any scene with David Tennant and John Sim? It is the gayest shit I've ever seen. What are you talking about? So, like, anyway, so everyone's up in arms. Well, when I say everyone, these people, it's amazing to see that, they've been championing the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who, and now they all have to backtrack on it, because they all have to go, oh, well, actually, Russell T Davies was very bad, and it's going to be even more woke now that he's back. After 5 years of, like, praising his era and thinking, like, he's the best thing about the show. I mean, literally, his first big two-parter is a story about is Aliens in London, is literally a commentary on the media and the way the politicians in the media reacted to the Iraqi war. Like, what's his name's what's the boss man, the one that becomes prime minister. I can't remember his name. That's Levine.
I know who you're about, but I don't remember his name either.
He literally gives a speech that is almost word for word George W. Bush's speech about invading Iraq, and how they talk about how there's weapons of mass destruction that don't exist, and they fabricate it as an excuse to invade and do things. That's what that episode is about. It's literally a commentary on what is happening in the world at that present time. But Doctor Who was never a political show. What are you talking about? Fucking hell. Anyway, so we have a black, possibly gay man who's never been confirmed as gay because he's never said anything about it.
I'm glad you've said that, because I've been wondering.
He's not. Well, I mean, he is.
We don't
Who
know.
knows? Who fucking knows? But he plays a gay character, so everyone's just assumed, and he's just assumed he's gay. But everyone has a problem. Literally, Bolstrek came out of retirement very briefly to complain about it on Twitter in a massive long thread that basically just said he's racist. That's all it said. It was very entertaining, and then he got mad about it all, about everyone's replies to him, so he blocked everyone on Twitter and disappeared again afterwards. That was very entertaining. And then you've got the usual suspects, Nerdrotic and...
Classic.
Nerdrotic was like, I'll give it a chance, and then watches a little interview, and Nguti Gatwa says diversity and representation, and immediately Nerdrotic's just like, nah. No,
I'm amazed
seriously.
he got that far.
Honestly, I'm amazed he got past the image of Nguti Gatwa and seeing a black person.
And tell me who the other one is, because I reckon I've heard him before too.
This is what, the 5th, 6th time that Nerdrotic has gotten a free shout out from this podcast.
Free shout out to everyone's favorite YouTuber, Nerdrotic. What an absolute piece of shit, honestly. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about Nguti Gatwa, because yeah, he's a good actor. Definitely recommend watching him in Sex Education. And like the whole point we were on is the fandom's buzzing. Even people who aren't part of the Doctor Who fandom are
People
buzzing
who
about
came from
Nguti
Sex
Gatwa.
Education are happy.
Literally,
about it.
people are like, what is this Doctor Who about? I've watched Sex Education and he's fantastic. I'm going to have to watch this.
boy.
You know, but the exact same thing happened with Yasmin Finney when she was announced as Rose. A lot of people are like, oh my God, she's great in Heartstopper. So now we have, and this is why Russell T Davies has casted the way he has. He's expert casting here. But Russell T Davies' big thing is to make Doctor Who big again. So what do? You take the two biggest streaming shows right now with a certain age demographic, you cast the most popular actors in those shows in Doctor Who. Next thing you know, you've got an influx of people coming into the show. Expert. Russell T Davies knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it does.
But I don't know if you have anything more to add about that. Because I don't have it. It's just Nguti Gatwa. It's old news now by the time this is going to be released. But yeah, Nguti Gatwa is Doctor Who.
I know nothing about him. I am excited.
But moving on to the next news, and this is the news that has me more hyped, because like, while Nguti Gatwa is great, and I'm very hyped about Nguti Gatwa, and I can't wait, we really know nothing about it at this point. There's nothing to get hyped about yet, if that makes sense. But what is very exciting, because they're shooting it now, and it's very exciting, and Lewin and I have been talking about this for days. I've been up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get all the latest news, and then I've been spamming Lewin in the chat, and then when he gets up in the morning, he reads all my spammed messages, and then we're like, oh, have a quick discussion about it. But they've been shooting the 60th anniversary, I'm not going to say special, I'm just going to say 60th anniversary episodes with a S in like asterisks, because we just don't know what's being shot. But they're shooting that at the moment with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. They're back.
Yes.
They're back. I'm
And
so excited.
That is very exciting news. And they were announced a week after Nguti Gatwa was announced. So like, Nguti Gatwa was announced on the Sunday that week, and then literally a week later, the following Sunday, they announced David Tennant and Catherine Tate returning, which is fantastic. It's great to see them. It's like being in 2008 all over again.
It is.
And what I find interesting about all these announcements is the wording of it. So they don't say 60th anniversary special, and they don't really say episode or anything. They just say that these people, in the case of David Tennant and Catherine Tate, David Tennant and Catherine Tate are coming back to Doctor Who to record scenes, to shoot scenes to coincide with the 60th anniversary. And that's all it says. So it's very interesting whether they're, there's obviously a lot of rumors and all that going about at the moment. I mean, Lou and I have been discussing quite a few of them, and
Yep.
I'm not going to go into it here, but I'm just going to say I think the Timefall leak is the most likely thing that's going to happen.
I want it to be that for the name alone. It's a fucking sick name.
Yeah. But it is very clear from filming that David Tennant isn't playing the 10th Doctor in this special, or whatever they're shooting, and that he is either playing the next incarnation of the Doctor after Jodie Whittaker, or he's playing like a multiverse. It's maybe like a multiverse situation, since multiverses are the big thing right now. So it might be that. But given what we know from filming, I don't think it is a multiverse situation, and I do think it's most likely that David Tennant is playing an incarnation of the Doctor that comes after Jodie Whittaker but before Nguti Gatwa. Which means Tennant is a greedy boy and takes up 3 full incarnations of the Doctor. Russell is an absolute mad lad. If this Timefall theory is real, what the fuck? What an absolute mad lad. What a Chad. Russell T. Davis is a Chad. What were you going to say, Jacob?
Because my younger sister's been going through the earlier seasons, well, the 2000s era of Doctor Who, and I'm getting all these like nostalgic things of I haven't seen this episode since high school and stuff, and I just recently rewatched. I still think is my favorite episode, and that's was it Voyage of the Damned?
Oh yeah, the one with the gay that Lewin said earlier, the gay Titanic pilot. Yeah.
Now that's my favorite episode of all time. Now, Laurie, I reckon you know exactly.
Kylie Minogue.
Yes, sir.
I like
30-something Kylie Minogue in a waitress outfit.
Yeah.
Peak
Doctor Who. That's right. And do you know what? That is also the episode that introduces the best companion the Doctor has ever had. I'm just going to straight up say this. Clara is my favorite companion. Lewin, you know this very, very well.
Yeah,
but if we're going to talk objectively, who is the best companion?
It's Banner
Wilf.
Cafalata. Right.
Yeah, Banner Cafalata, yeah. It is my boy. It is Bernard Cribbins himself, Wilfred Bott. He is, I think, objectively the best companion. I don't think there is any counterpoint to that. It's why he doesn't get included on lists, because he would just absolutely dominate every single companion list.
He works as a character. He works as a story point. He's just a cool man. How can you hate Wilf?
How can you? But that's the episode that introduced Wilfred Bott. And speaking of David Tennant and Catherine Tate returning, it is so great to see Bernard Cribbins on set again, playing Wilfred Bott. I am very excited.
93 years old.
93 years old. There's this great filming photo of video, of him sitting there in his wheelchair, and the Doctor is they're both looking up, reacting to something, and then David Tennant runs around, grabs his wheelchair, and him, Donna, and Wilf go into the TARDIS, and the Doctor wheels him into the TARDIS. So that's how you know that it's not set during Series 4 at all.
Worst rescue ever.
Wilf wasn't in a wheelchair back then, so it's definitely time has passed. And not only that, but here's the third announcement. Donna and Sean have a daughter named Rose, who is being played by trans actress Yasmin Finney, who is in the current Netflix hit show Heartstoppers, which I haven't seen. I don't know anything about. Didn't even know actually existed until this news came out. But yeah, she's playing a character named Rose, who hasn't been confirmed as Donna and Sean's daughter, but everything on set she's Donna and Sean's daughter, and possibly the new companion with Nguti Gatwa, which I hope so. I think it'd be great to have. I
Just
think
to
it'd be
piss off Martha that one last time.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting, and I'm excited for the future. It's just nice to be excited about Doctor Who again, you know?
I know, right?
I think that's the point to take away from all of this, is that I was in the Doctor Who Flux hype last year, but I knew as soon as Flux started that it would be bad. I knew it.
I think if you look at any of our pre-Flux conversations, we were downright pessimistic about something.
We were pessimistic, but then once that trailer hit, I was all on board. I was like, right, we got 2 weeks to go until the new Doctor Who season starts. Let's fucking go. Let's live in the hype for this 2 weeks, because once it starts, it's gonna be shit, and then the hype is gone. And that's exactly what happened. If you go back and listen to our Doctors in Distress weekly Doctor Who Flux podcast...
Strong start, makes no sense. I'm sure we'll get there. It's not getting there. I'm a bit confused. Fuck.
It's just bad now, isn't it? It starts out... You just need to look at the episode titles for our podcast, and you can see it's being very enthusiastic at the start, and then just as each episode goes on...
Isn't the final episode Doctor Who broke me?
The final episode... I'm bringing the titles up now, just so we can all go through them and experience this. Go on this journey that we went on last year. The first episode is called "The Flux is Here" with an exclamation point. Get hyped. The second episode is called "A Solid Sontaran Romp," because I do maintain that episode 2 of Doctor Who Flux is really good, and it's actually I think it's actually the best work Chris Chibnall has done for the show. There's some minor issues with it, but I think as a whole, it's a fucking fantastic episode. And we also get Dan with a wok. So that's great. And then the next episode is called "A Timey-Wimey Mess," and that's when it starts to fall apart. That's when the whole series starts to fall apart. The next episode
3 again?
Episode 3 is Once Upon Time. It's the episode where they're all in
Yep.
different timelines, and like...
Yep.
I do like the scene where the Doctor is a police officer with Yaz, though. I think that's actually a very good scene. But, yeah. Anyway, that's when it all starts to fall apart. And then we have, why did this have to be part of Flux, with a question mark? That is in reference to the Village of the Angels episode, which is a good episode, but anything that has anything to do with the overarching story is pretty bad. And then the final 2 episodes. This is where we break. I didn't really know what to call the 5th podcast on Survivors of the Flux, so I just called it "More Characters and Plot, No Substance." That's the episode. And then the final episode, episode 6, is called "This Episode Broke Us." Because
you didn't name them for Flux sake or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's a missed opportunity there, isn't it? That's what we should have called episode 4, actually. Episode 4 should have been called "For Flux Sake," because
Yeah, that
what does
makes
this...
sense.
That makes more sense, because why did this have to be part of Flux? It was a good story until it was part of Flux. And obviously, we haven't talked about the New Year's special or the Easter special at all
I've
on
kind
this
of just
podcast.
thought that at this point we're waiting until the centenary to get it.
Yeah.
Neither
We'll talk about
episode
it.
is
Yeah, 'cause-
noteworthy.
Yeah, because when the Centenary special releases later in the year, we'll do an episode talking about mainly that, but all 3 of them. But if you want the brief bit, I could not tell you a single thing that happened in the last episode of Doctor Who, and that only aired like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm actually for once in the same boat.
I have no idea what the plot of that episode was. Don't know. All I know is it was a whole episode of queer baiting, and the Sea Devils were in it.
Were they? I hardly noticed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. And then the other episode was a Dalek episode.
Which are consistently okay.
Yeah, I'll say that. Anyway, Doctor Who's shit, so I'm excited for it to be good. I'm excited. It's just nice to be excited about Doctor Who. It's been 5 years, and I'm ready for Russell T Davies to come back in and just not save the show. I don't like to use those words. I just make the show better than it was before.
I just wanted to train someone else up.
Oh my god, could you imagine if he became the George Lucas and to a Dave Filoni? And then Dave Filoni, the Dave Filoni that he trains in this analogy, becomes the next showrunner.
It's kind of
that's what he did with Stephen Moffat. That's what he did with Stephen Moffat.
And Stephen Moffat gave me my favorite episode of all time, so like, it's a win.
Could you imagine if Stephen Moffat comes back after we get like 3 years of Russell, and then Russell's like, "Oh, I'm out now. I'll just like oversee the Doctor Who universe," because Russell's not going anywhere.
No,
but I don't know.
Overseer now.
But I think Russell T Davies is going to become the Kevin Feige of Doctor Who. Like he's
which adds up completely because he keeps drawing analogies between
to the MCU, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So like Jacob, I don't know if you know this, but Russell T Davies said in an interview early last year, this was before it was announced he was coming back, that he thinks Doctor Who should adopt a MCU style universe. And he did joke at the time that Doctor Who should be big, and it should be this big thing, and it should have its own channel and its own universe with spin-offs and all of this. And if you remember anything about the original Russell T Davies era, we did have spin-offs. We had Torchwood, we had the Sarah Jane Adventures, we even had a big season finale of Doctor Who, which was a crossover between the entire universe at the time. Everything was a big crossover, and that's what Russell T Davies believes Doctor Who should have. And we haven't really had spin-offs or like anything really since the original RTD era.
We've had no spin-offs. None at all.
Yeah, well, we did have Class.
None at all.
Hey, Class has Peter Capaldi in one episode, and it's a great scene.
Yeah, okay. One scene does not make an entire show good.
Yeah, but then the guy gets his legs chopped off and his girlfriend gets stabbed and explodes in a pool of blood. The scene literally before the Peter Capaldi scene.
See, I think you describing it is somehow more fun to me than watching the show.
It was like you describing the episode 1 of Flux to me. That's like my favorite moment ever in any podcast we've ever done is when you were trying to explain the plot of Doctor Who Flux episode 1. It was the best thing ever. I don't know if you've heard it, Jacob, but you should go back and listen to that podcast. And I was cacking myself. It was so funny. It was so funny, Lewin trying to explain the plot of this Doctor Who episode. Oh, good times. That's my favorite moment ever. Like, nothing will ever top that moment. I should just clip that and make it its own video. But yeah, that was fun. So I'm just excited to be, excited about Doctor Who again.
I agree.
And I'm excited for spin-offs because Russell has, obviously BBC aren't producing this show anymore. All the production has moved to Bad Wolf Studios. So we've got the original crew back. We've got Julie Gardner, Phil Collinson, Russell T Davies. They're all back making Doctor Who. But I think that's what's going to happen. I think Russell is going to become the Kevin Feige because there is now a subsidiary company of Bad Wolf called Whoniverse 1.
Yes, that's true. Forgot about that news.
Yeah, so I reckon what we're going to be seeing is a big MCU-style Doctor Who TV universe. I reckon we're going to be getting a lot of spin-offs. We're going to be getting a lot of maybe mini-series. We're going to be getting a lot in the coming years. So I do reckon Russell is in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll remain showrunner of Doctor Who specifically.
But he's definitely going to oversee
He's going to be around. And he also is working on other stuff as well. And that's probably why he's doing what he's doing, actually. Because I think he probably still wants to work on other stuff. So he's probably going to take a step back from show running and just oversee the whole thing as an executive producer. And I think that's maybe even story director or something to make sure everything's all lined up. I think that could be good, and that would allow him to free up and go work on other things and do other things as well. So I'm very excited for what's coming next for Doctor Who. I think it's very exciting. Anyway, we've talked about that for long enough. How long have we been recording for? God knows how long at this point. Let's just do a brief little catch-up segment. What have we been doing lately, boys? What have we been up to? I'll let you Jacob, you're the guest. You can take it off. What have you been up to lately? What have you been doing?
I've been watching some movies. I've been watching, I've I don't know if this is the topic of this episode, but I've seen the Uncharted movie, I've seen the Batman, I saw Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I saw Jackass Forever and the 4.5 special that came out on Netflix last night. What else have I gotten and stuff? Ooh. Been playing a bit of Elden Ring. Not as much as I'd like. I'm still quite noobish at it. I don't think I even have 10 hours into it yet, but I'm trying. It's a big game. It's a very big game.
I have absolutely zero plans to ever play that game.
I'm about 20 hours into it. I feel like I've still got another 100 left to go.
Yep, that's me too.
It looks great. And I actually, when the game came out, I was really enjoying all the screenshots that were being shared around on Twitter and whatnot. Like, there was some really nice screenshots. I was like, that looks really pretty. I like that game. It looks great. I will never play it because it is a style of game that I absolutely refuse to play. Like, I don't even like playing Jedi Fallen Order. It's not even because it's difficult. I just don't like the combat style. I'm not a fan of it. That's all it is.
So the reason why I was like, maybe I'll try Elden Ring is because I like Jedi Fallen Order, but I find it very hard to get into FromSoft games for one specific reason. It's not has anything to do with the way that the game is designed or there's any sort of like flaw or niche to it. It's just the fact that From Software games love to punish a very specific type of gamer, and that type of gamer is me. The type of gamer who's stubborn and just refuses to learn and is just pig-headed and just tries to like mash buttons and stuff. And like From Software loves to just take the piss out of those type of gamers. But what I thought was really interesting about Elden Ring is that, say Dark Souls or Bloodborne and stuff like that, if you're stuck, you're stuck. You have to learn how to do it. That's just how it goes. It's a linear. There's open branching pathways, but it's a very straightforward adventure. But with Elden Ring being this humongous open world, it's kind of like, oh, you like Breath of the Wild. You can do anything. You can go anywhere. So you go one way, and then you just get fucking smushed into the ground like mayonnaise in like the first 5 minutes, and you go, all right, I'm not going that way. And you just keep finding other different alternate pathways to go, finding some easier ones, and then you find yourself learning with the game through exploration. And I figured that's how you get a stubborn gamer like me to actually enjoy FromSoft games, is just let me play at my own pace rather than funneling me through corridors of just relentlessly hard enemies where it's like, you can take that? Stand back up. Try again. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not good? Yeah, go back half an hour and try again.
Get good.
Yeah, that's how I just felt playing Jedi Fallen Order. I was just like, every time I saw a new area with a group of enemies, I was just like, fuck, do I have to do this again? You know, I just wanted the game to let me just play it and not have to like deal with this shit all the time. So here's the thing. A few years ago, I probably would have jumped on board with the game. I remember Tom was trying to get me to play Bloodborne once, and I did start playing it. And I reckon a few years ago, like we're talking like 5 or 6 years ago, I probably would have jumped on it but I'm a very different type of gamer now than I was back then. Like now I don't have as much time. So if I'm forced to repeat the same thing in a game, I fucking hate it now. And I honestly, like, I would rather play a game on easy now just so I can experience the game, because I don't have the time to play on harder difficulties and have to play the same shit over and over again because I keep dying. And that is why I refuse to play. The only time I ever play Jedi Fallen Order is when I'm playing with mods. That's the only time I play it. I've never played that game through start to finish. I have played the end of it, though. I did play the last chapter of it where you go to that like underwater base thing, and then you got to like fight the guy, and then and then you get the Darth Vader scene and all that. I've played through all of that because I have a mod that allows me to go to any point in the game and play any point in the game. But I did play that with mods, and I love mods for that game. There's some great mods out there, and the only reason I bought and played it on PC was because I saw an Ahsoka mod. Lewin remembers this because we talked about it on a podcast, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy Jedi Fallen Order on PC now just so I can play as Ahsoka. good times. But like I don't know, I even found it like playing through Final Fantasy as well. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake is my favorite game of all time. But like there were moments in that game. One of the reasons why it took me just so long to play it is because I would encounter a boss fight or something or other that's just really difficult, and it takes me a few goes to get it. But like even just something as simple as that just annoys me, and I have to just put the game down and I won't touch it for like 3 months, and then I'll go back and finish the bit that I was meant to play. It actually happened recently with Final Fantasy Intermission. I finished a boss fight and I was like, okay, cool, that's done. And I thought I was getting to the end of the DLC because I'm like, well, you know, it's almost there. And then I realized I had like a whole other boss fight that was actually pretty challenging. Actually, I actually really enjoyed the boss fight when I did play it, but just the realization that I just had to do another boss fight and that I would still be playing this game for more time when I wanted to finish it in the little span of free time that I had during that period of time, I was like, fuck, I'm not doing this. So that annoys me. But yeah, like, I mean, if it was like 6 years ago, yeah, maybe I probably would jump in to play something like that's challenging. But now I just prefer to play a game, just chill and just experience it rather than do that. That's just my take on video games right now.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know, that was a bit of a rant. But yeah, like, but I will say I did finish Final Fantasy VII Intermission recently. I did play through that boss fight. It took me 3 goes to play through it. But that was good. It was a good boss fight. Really enjoyed it. Like I did say, I enjoyed doing it. It just took me 3 goes, and at the time I was just like, I just don't want to do that. But I enjoyed it. But
you're doing better than me because I own it and I haven't played it yet. I bought it on PS4, and I was like, oh, how big is it? 100 gigs. I was like, I don't have space for that. And then got a PS5, and I'm like, oh, I'll play it on PS5. And they goes, no, there's a PS5 upgrade coming out soon. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll wait for that. And then I waited for that.
For free too.
And now it's out, and I still don't have it on. I haven't played it either.
Yeah, like, damn it. I'm halfway through the game, and then I decide I'm going to go play Final Fantasy 1. I'm going to play every game up until 7. I'm still in Final Fantasy 1.
It really bothers me that you just... if I was you, Lewin, like, if I was in your situation and decided to do that, I would have just played 7 and just finished it and then gone, okay, now I'll go back and play that. Because then you can play the original 7 when you play through them, you know what I mean? But
I feel you.
I have absolutely
been the smarter
no
thing, but I'm blocked now.
I am absolutely no intentions of playing any other Final Fantasy games. Maybe 10, because I've heard 10 and 10-2 is really good.
Yeah, 10 and 10-2 are pretty good.
And I've heard they're bad, but I really want to play the games with... I want to play the like, was it Final Fantasy 13, the one with lightning?
Yep.
I want to play that. Yeah, I've heard they're bad, but I don't know anything about it. But I just like her design. I think she's cool, so I just want to play that one.
If you look at any fan base and everyone's like, "Oh, that one's bad," you play it or watch it, and you go, "That's all right."
I actually quite enjoy Final Fantasy 13 from what I've played of it.
There's 3 games in that, right? There's Final Fantasy 13.
13, 13.
Because I know the third one's called Lightning Returns.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
2 doesn't have a subtitle. It's just 13 too.
Yeah. But yeah, is Final Fantasy VII the most popular one?
Yeah,
That's the most popular one, right? Like, because the only thing I ever knew about Final Fantasy before playing 7 was Cloud and Tifa.
Pretty much.
That's all I ever knew. 7 was
the one that first made it big in America.
Yeah. I thought Cloud was the protagonist when I started playing Final Fantasy VII. Like, I thought he was the protagonist of the franchise. How wrong was I?
You've got Pretty Boy 1, Pretty Boy 2, Pretty Boy 3, Cloud, Pretty Boy 4.
Yeah. What I love about Final Fantasy, and this is why it's just got such a charm to it. Final Fantasy VII does great is the character interactions. Like, there are so many more. I've said this on like the last 3 podcasts, I think. I apologize, Lauren. But what it does really well is the character interactions. There's so many moments in the game where the game just stops the plot just to do something between 2 characters. like you've got a whole section where you're playing with Aerith and you have to go and pick some flowers, and then you've got to go deliver the flowers, and you know, you go around and talk to people, and it's just basically like a whole section of nothing really happens, but it's still so engaging and so great. And the end of Final Fantasy VII intermission with Yuffie is like it's basically just a 10-minute long cutscene of the crew after the events of the main game, and it's just characters interacting. There's no continuation of a plot, there's nothing happening. It's just 10 minutes of CG cutscenes of characters, the main crew of the game, interacting with each other in little scenes, and it's just great. But yeah, anyway, Final Fantasy's good. What else have you been doing, Jacob?
I've been trying to get through Horizon Forbidden West.
That's right, that came out. Yeah, I haven't played that because I'm before you get into it, because I do want to hear about it. I haven't played it because I've decided that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be my first PS5 game when I eventually buy a PS5. So I'm not gonna buy the PS4 version and play that. I'm just gonna wait for that one. So I've just been avoiding it like the plague. But I do love Horizon, the first one. But yeah, how's that been going?
Going really good. It's quite an interesting way that they developed the story from the first one, but I'm not going to get too much into that because you haven't played it. But I think
Lewin hasn't played the first one. We discussed this last time, didn't we? You haven't played the first one.
I've not played the first one.
One thing that you can attest to, Laura, is that if there's one thing that could be infinitely improved from the first one, just like despite how you look at it, you go, "Oh, the graphics are so beautiful," and then you look at all these like different models and all this and that, and it's great. And then you see scenes of dialogue, and it's just Mass Effect 2, like 10 years old, like it's just stiff animations of like played out like.
You're talking about the animations. Oh, right. Okay. I thought you were talking about character models, and I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? The character models look great, but no, you're talking about animations. Okay, that makes sense.
The dialogue animations, and you're just like, wow, they're fucking stiff as a board, and there's no personality to the way that they move. Yeah. And so, with Forbidden West, like there's so much more just direction in the way that dialogue scenes play out, because they no longer play out like, just, all right, your character stand here, your character stand there, and then your mouth moves with the dialogue, just like it was in like Mass Effect or something like it was 10, 15 years ago. Now each dialogue scene actually has like mocapped and facial capped animation, so they actually look like cutscenes, even though they're just playing in engine. But like it's the same technique you see in like other Sony ones, like Last of Us Part 2 or something like that, and you just look to yourself and you go, like this is what we needed in the first one. This is all in engine, but like I can see their faces and they can emote and like actually like look like they're actually paying attention to
what's actually interesting. What's actually interesting between the PS4 and the PS5 version is I believe a lot of the game's cutscenes. Like obviously on the PS5 version they're all rendered in real time, but on the PS4 version I do believe a lot of the game's cutscenes are actually just recorded versions.
Pre-rendered.
Yeah, they're just from the PS5 version. Because I don't know if it's a lot of the game, but I know that the very because Digital Foundry did in one of their videos they were talking about this, but the opening of the game is all rendered in real time on the PS5 version, but on the PS4 version it's not re-rendered, it's actual recording of the PS5 version on the PS4 version. For the opening cutscene, at least. I don't know about the rest of the game, but I do know they were talking about it for the opening cutscene.
I'd say it won't pop up too much because of the level of customization that Aloy has, outfits and armor. So,
I'm assuming it'll be the opening, but in the opening, it's like a standard, right? I would assume.
Fucking her default armor at the start of the game. I'm like, I got rid of that armor 20 hours ago, but never mind.
Yeah, I remember playing. I have fond memories of playing Horizon. It was a great game. It's not like one of my favorite games, just because in general I don't enjoy open world games in general. Anyway, as I say, who played Cyberpunk and plays The Witcher quite regularly, and plays only. But I mean, there's just a certain style of just the style of open world games is just boring to me now. Like, just give me a nice solid, just campaign. I'm sorry, Lewin. I'm just bringing up the same broken record that I'd say in every single podcast episode this episode, aren't I? I apologize. But yeah, like, I'm just not super into it, but I did enjoy Horizon. I thought it was a very fun, engaging game, and I found a lot of the side mission stuff wasn't just fucking mind-numbingly boring or repetitive or just annoying. So I'm keen to play the second one, but yeah, I've decided it's going to be my first PS5 game when I eventually get a PS5. Don't know when that's going to be. It was going to be the first thing I was going to save up for, but I've realized I need a new TV. So I'm going to save up for that. But then I realized, hang on, HRT is going to cost me a lot of money, and also getting lasers is going to cost me a lot of money. So I'm going to need to save for that. So who knows when I'll get a PS5. It might be a year or two.
Hey, but then they might be in stock.
Yeah, they might be in stock. I can't even get one. So, like, there's no point saving money for something I can't get.
It was a pain in the absolute ass for me to get one 18 months ago, and my brother just got one, and it was a pain in the ass to get that one too.
My friend who has no money, EB did a quick flash sale like last week, and so I was like, he's like, I can't get one, but I really want one. I'm like, fuck, okay, and I put down the deposit. I'm like, you pay me back immediately for this. So he's got a PS5, and it was very close that he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, like, I was always wanting to get one, and when I knew I got this new full-time job, which is the reason why we haven't done a podcast in, like, 2 or 3 months now, whatever it's been. But when I knew, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I can finally save for a PS5, and I'll be able to get one at some point. And then since then, I've kind of just realized there are more important things in life than getting a PS5. Because the thing is, right now, if I got a PS5... the only game I want to play is Horizon. And like I said earlier, but I don't know if it was in the podcast or before we started recording, but like, I'm just not as into modern gaming as I used to be. Like, very few modern releases interest me at all. So I'm more interested in playing older shit. If you look at my video games list, it's mostly games that I've never played before, that have come out ages ago, and I'm more interested in doing that. And, you know, if I got a PS5, it would just replace my PS4 as a Blu-ray and Netflix machine. Like, I would barely use it so I don't see the point right now, and I've just decided there's more important things in life than getting a PS5. I still want to get a new TV, though. I do want to do that, so I'm probably going to do that at some point. But I will get one eventually, and that's what I'm saving Horizon Forbidden West for. So I am very excited for when that day comes. It's got good reviews. People love it.
Yeah, not a bad way to cut your teeth on PS5.
Exactly.
But just be forewarned that it's not like a revolutionary step up from the first one in terms of like how open world games have progressed. It is very similar. It plays very similar.
Progressed.
Like, when you talk about like games that have come out since,
sorry, that was just an unnecessary jab at open world games. It's not even objectively correct. I just like to jab at open world games every chance I get. I'm sorry.
When you think of like how revolutionary like Breath of the Wild is, or Elden Ring has been considered, it's like, okay, yeah, Forbidden West isn't too dissimilar from the first one, but I think, you know, if you love the first one, then the second one is good too, and it's a gorgeous looking game. Well, Guerrilla Games, good developer of the Killzone series, but like when we were playing Last of Us Part 2, I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take for an open world game to look not only as good as this but better. I didn't realize it was going to be like within the next 18 months, where it's like, oh yeah, see all those like nicely highly detailed models in those in-engine cutscenes in Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, we can do that with Aloy as well, and all of her hair is realistic as well. I'm like, oh well, goddamn you.
And also on a point to that as well, with Unreal Engine 5 and literally the entire industry fucking all moving to Unreal Engine 5 for everything, it's only going to look better. you know.
Yes.
I don't
I
think
played the Matrix demo when it
Yeah.
came out, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then suddenly, like, the cutscene ended and control was given back to me. I'm like, oh, shit, this is real.
it's real, yeah. I mean, there's still there's still the uncanny valley aspect of it, like when Keanu Reeves, like you could tell it's just not him. But like, I mean, I think the demo was more really just like, here's the city, you know, this is what the world looks like, and it looks great.
Like, what was so amazing about that demo is like the action sequence at the start is like on rails, and you can like select targets and stuff. I'm like, okay, this isn't a really a good like example of like how games play on Unreal Engine, but look fantastic. And then as soon as it did that thing where they put you in the shoes of that new character, and she just like kind of just walks into frame, and the camera like zooms out to let you know that, all right, this is an open world game that you can explore. I literally just went out loud like, oh shit. And I don't do that. I swear, it just kind of took me aback a bit, going, oh wow, like this is what an open world game
real.
looks like.
Yeah. And like, I mean, no, Unreal Engine 5's just in general is gonna be an absolute game changer for real-time rendering. Not just in the video game space, but in the virtual production space as well. Like, I mean, we've already... It's going to be an
Doesn't
absolute...
Star Wars use Unreal Engine?
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've switched over to Unreal Engine 5 for future projects, because they were using Unreal Engine 4 for Mandalorian and all of that. So, and the Thor movie was shot with using Unreal Engine 4 as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, but Unreal Engine 4 is like, I think, almost like 10 years old now too. Like, it's an older engine, but it still works really great.
So I think Unreal Engine 4 was debuted with like a bunch of different Xbox One titles, and it was the one used for like Gears of War 4
it was like
and stuff like that.
2012, wasn't it? 2012, something like that. Yeah. But it's going to be great for virtual production in general. That's what I'm excited about. I mean, we're already seeing VTubers moving over to Unreal Engine 5. Probably one of the biggest VTuber streamers, Code Miko, who's been using Unreal Engine 4 to render everything to render her... Because her ambition on Code Miko is to kind of blur the line between video game and streaming content. So she has her entire world built in Unreal Engine 5, and she's actually got a lot of interactivity in the world. So she can at any point get up out of her chair and actually grab a controller and move her character around like a video game, and then she can sit down and then change back to the mocap instead. And so she's moved to Unreal Engine 5 recently, and the difference is insane. Like, the detail in her model now is really great, and like, I'm very excited for the virtual production aspect as well as video games. Like, what game we know, CDPR is doing the next Witcher game in Unreal Engine 5. The next Tomb Raider game is going to be in Unreal Engine 5, which is fucking going to be awesome. So I'm excited for the future of games in terms of just how they're going to look, because it seems like the whole industry is just like, oh yeah, we're doing Unreal Engine 5 now. But yeah, anyway, that's exciting. Luan, what have you been up to lately? Because we are doing the catch-up segment.
Hi there. Not much.
The only reason we haven't talked about Uncharted and Batman is because I've seen that too, but I don't really want to talk about it because this episode's gone on for long enough. Yeah, but we'll say some brief thoughts in a sec, Jake. We'll get onto that in a sec.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I've also seen the Batman. I have not seen Uncharted.
Are you going to watch Uncharted? Because I remember you saying
point.
You probably...
I don't want to, but I'm going to.
Speaking of video games, has anyone been watching Halo?
No.
I've been watching a bit. My brother's finished it, but I've been watching it.
It's really bad.
All I saw was one screenshot that was like Halo Episode 9 after credits scene, and it was them cancelling their Paramount Plus subscription.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it's pretty bad. I mean, I know nothing about Halo, so I could absolutely guarantee you if I sat down and watched that show, I would probably like it because I have no attachment to that franchise and know nothing about it. But
I actually agree. I think you would, because the reason why it's so controversial and why my brother goes, like, I love half of it. I love some of the action sequences, but he's just looking at it and going, as an adaptation, it just doesn't work because it's, as a fan of Halo, it's not directed at him. Like,
Someone
it's that one of
described
those.
it as someone described it on Twitter. I was reading today that someone described it as fan fiction with a budget.
From what I've heard, that sounds
No,
accurate.
What I saw one is I think it was the Double Toasted podcast review, like on the like trailer for the Resident Evil Netflix show, and they're like, "This is the same. Is this for the same demographic?" They said, "Who's it for?" And he goes, "It's for the same people that Halo was for." And he was like, "Oh, who is that?" And he goes, "It's not for fans of the source material. It's for your dad who has heard of Halo or Resident Evil and goes, oh, I like the Space Marines and I like the zombies. I'll watch that." It's not actually. It's a weird way of like making a above average, polished, decent TV show that broadens the demographic, but kind of leaves people who actually want to watch the show in the dust because it doesn't do a very good job of like translating what made the games good to a different medium. It just kind of makes it up its own thing, which it's fine. It's a different canon than the games, which is fine. So it doesn't have to like step on established law and ruin different interpretations and all this and that. But it's
from what I've heard, though, it doesn't even really bother to do anything that is accurate to the games. From what I've heard,
it aesthetically matches a lot of Halo, and a lot of the arcs that have brought up in mostly the game's lore rather than the actual plots of any of the games yet. They get established. They get their own different reinterpretations, but it's a case of like a studio looks at an IP, cherry picks the aesthetic or certain plot lines in the lore, and then just does something completely different. And it kind of just like when I look at something like how a decent, like a very accurate adaptation goes, whether it be from books to films or something like that, when you see Harry Potter or you see something like that, you can tell people who haven't read the books can look at people who've read the books and go, oh, I see why you like those books, because the spirit of the books has been translated pretty accurately into the films. Whereas Halo, I can't imagine you, my dad, or something like that watching Halo and then coming to me and my brother and then saying, I see why you like the games, because nothing that made the games the space epics that they are pops up in the show.
The shifty side eye and this is what you've spent money on the last 20 years?
We got off topic. So yeah, what have you been? What were you saying you watched? You watched the Batman, Lewin. You watched.
I've watched.
That's what we were talking about.
I've cleared through quite a bit of the first Doctor.
Yes, Doctor Who.
Yes, it's always going to come back to that. Just today, I read over half of the first 8th Doctor novel, The 8 Doctors, and finished it off literally just before we started recording.
Nice.
Solid book, full on fan service. Looking forward to reading the next one. Overall, I've not been doing.
I'm pretty sure Russell wrote some 8th Doctor novels.
No, he wrote a 7th Doctor one. Other than that, I haven't been doing much. I'm currently moving house, so I'm in the process of packing up.
Does that have anything to do with the termites?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the termites. They just happen to exist.
Right. Fair enough. Well, that's always a fun time.
It is.
Moving house. Congratulations on having that fun time, and I hope you enjoy yourself.
Thanks.
And,
I was at an open house earlier today, trying to,
Do you know what's the worst? It's when your house is like an open house and you're still living there.
Yeah, we're trying to
That's
get
the
out
worst.
before they open it up.
Anyway, yeah, that's good. But yeah, there's a little connective tissue here between the three of us, as we've all watched The Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So let's rapid fire thoughts on The Batman.
I thought it was really good in the first half, but I think it falls apart when the tension breaks.
Jacob, rapid thoughts. Let's go.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Okay. I thought it was absurdly long, but a good movie.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
It
But
is.
what
That movie should have ended about... I said this to my friend. I said it should have ended about 45 minutes before it actually ended.
Agreed.
And if that 45 minutes was gone from the movie, and I don't even necessarily mean cut the last bit of the movie, I just mean cut at least. I said you could. I said to my friend, I said I would love the raw footage for this film, and as a passion project, I would love to re-edit it into an under 2 hour movie, because I can tell you right now, you could cut an hour out of that movie very, very easily and nothing would be different.
See, I enjoyed the movie a lot. It's probably my
same.
second
I
or
loved it.
third favorite Batman movie, but I feel the tension builds up a lot over the first hour and 40 minutes.
There's an impending, there's this sense of dread.
Yeah, and it keeps building, but then you don't get a release for that, because I feel like when it hits the Batmobile part,
that's the chase with
when it hits
Penguin,
around the
right?
chase with Penguin, it takes a sharp left turn into more of an action film, and it forgets the tension entirely until the last 20 minutes.
I just thought the film just got a bit... For me, personally, I think the film was a really fantastic Batman story, a great Batman detective story as well. But to me, the whole last bit in the stadium with the water, and I just felt it was completely disconnected from the rest of the film.
I got that too.
It also felt out of place to me. It just didn't feel like it matched the vibes of the film was going for. I don't know, it just felt a bit weird to me, but I didn't hate it. I was just like, this is weird.
Well, actually, I agree with what Lewin said with the when the tension breaks with the chase, it doesn't quite build that again. But I'm like, in my opinion, I'm like, is that necessarily a bad thing? Because I don't think the tension and dread of the first two acts of it, or first three acts, I think this is like a 4-act structure movie, is really the point of the ending of the movie. So I was kind of fine that it was kind of more of a action slash disaster, like mass shooting preventing movie. I thought that was fine.
That's fair. I think just when I went into the movie, while watching the movie, the tension is the main thing that I actually enjoyed out of that entire film. Because I've seen, there's 20 other Batman films, and they all do the action shtick. I can get that from Dark Knight, from Dark Knight Rises. None of them really do the tension besides Dark Knight.
I do like Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Yes,
I think
same.
he's great.
Yep.
And I like Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, Andy Serkis great. I genuinely ththought they killed him for a second. I was like, no. You're not going to get Andy Serkis and then kill him. What? It was good.
You're like, what? There was just these brownie points for being Caesar for 2 of Matt Reeves' movies? Nah. Matt Reeves like, don't worry.
You can survive.
I liked the Gotham City in this film as well. I think they really captured Gotham really well.
One thing, because it ties into how Gotham City looks and the themes and the tension of it, is one reason why, and you've probably heard millions of video essays on the Batman mention this, but one of my all-time favorite movies is David Fincher's Seven, and this movie is if the Batman was in the universe of Seven, and I'm like, no, I'm here for all of this. This is great.
It's PG, it's PG low M rating is what kind of let it down for me. Is it keeps getting to the point where you think it's gonna go far, but it cuts away right before it does. And like, I know that really that stuff doesn't really belong maybe in a Batman film. Can we talk about the what I consider the most unnecessary part of the movie? The fucking Joker tease.
I saw the deleted scene. No offense, but it's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Like, it's not like Jared Leto bad, obviously, but like it's not a great performance at all. I really hope he's not the Joker in the next film.
I don't have a problem with the performance or anything like that. My biggest problem is I don't think you guys have ever seen like the Hannibal Lecter movies.
I've not seen Silence of the Lambs, no.
I've seen scenes and shit, yeah, but not the actual films.
But, like when I was like looking at like, oh wow, there's more deleted scenes with the Joker and stuff like that. I watched the deleted scene with Joker and I went, this is like almost word for word from Red Dragon. The bit where the FBI agent comes and talks to Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter, or the book Red Dragon, or the Brett Ratner film Red Dragon. I'm like, this is the same scene. It's just Batman and Joker. I can see why it was cut, because it's literally just Red Dragon.
It also has literally nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I much enjoyed his little cameo in the film with Riddler way more than that scene.
See, I didn't even enjoy the Riddler cameo. I just don't want...
Oh, no, I didn't like the performance, but I thought it was a much better inclusion of the character rather than the scene that they deleted. But either way, like... And this is a point I did want to bring up, is from this film we're getting a new Gotham show, and we're also getting a Penguin show with Colin Farrell. Now, look, I liked Colin Farrell a lot in this movie, actually. I also liked Jim Gordon.
Yes.
But this film didn't do enough to make me invested in these versions of the character or this version of the world to want to watch those shows. That's also my issue with it. I'll watch a sequel.
Yeah.
I'm all on board to watch more of it, but I'm not interested in watching spin-off content because I don't care enough about this world to want to do that.
The only spin-off content I'm like even keen to look into is the comics that are coming out. There's like Riddler Year One, which shows the build-up of Riddler. I'm interested in that. I don't give a crap about anything else, really.
I like how they made a big deal, how Riddler had like 500 followers. It's like, oh my god, wow, that's so many. You're going to break the internet. Anyway.
It also had to be underground as well. You can't just have like this like famous live streamer be the terrorist the whole time. That just doesn't work as a detective thriller.
Yeah, no, obviously, I understand. I'm not criticizing the movie, by the way. I'm just saying it's too long. You could cut an hour out of it.
Yeah,
and by the way, that hour you can cut out is, I think, the entire last part. You don't need that. But I think it's just simple things, like maybe just condensing some scenes down. Like, I do think there are so many scenes in this film that just go on for too long. I think if you just cut maybe a few shots out, condense it down a little bit. There's so much of just Batman walking around and staring at shit. And while I get it is a detective film, once you've done that once, you don't need to keep doing it.
There's only so many times I can watch the Batmobile swerve out of the way of another car.
The climax of the movie, like you say, is like, oh, it's just this build-up of tension throughout all the runtime. Then there's just a little peninsula at the end that you could just cut off. I disagree, because the whole point of the climax of the movie is important for Batman's character arc, about how, like, yeah, being a vigilante and just punching thugs in the streets, yeah, that's pretty good for, you know, where he gets his kick from. But, yeah, good old-fashioned punch-up, but it's not what the city needs. He actually does need to be a hero. He has to be a symbol for the people to look up to. There's that great shot where, like, not only is like that great scene where he's with the flare, and he's guiding the people out, and it's playing this really nice music and stuff like that. But it's the shot where he's carrying a survivor to a stretcher. He puts the woman on the stretcher.
Oh yeah, at the end, yeah.
Confusion, she grabs him and like doesn't want to let go of him, and he just gives her a reassuring like nod, like everything's going to be all right, and takes her hand and puts it back on her. Like that's that's some of the best stuff in the entire movie. You really need that.
Correct.
Oh no, I wasn't saying cutting that necessarily. I was just saying, like, I think that whole bit with the stadium and the thing, like, it just feels so out of place with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't really think so, because yes, you could have substituted something else that matches the rest of the film thematically, sorry, like in tone. But I think in terms of impact for where the story goes and its characters, I think it's more impactful to have an ending that with that much catastrophic repercussions.
See, I think we don't need to touch the ending per se, but I agree with Laura on slicing and dicing, because like there's the scene on the rafters in the stadium with the random ass fuck where they made a big deal out of him even though he was fucking no one, and he shoots and incapacitates Batman. But that scene really has no point in the end. That entire part where Batman gets shot in the chest has no real point.
Either way, we've talked about this for way too long. Let's move on. Great movie. Uncharted. You haven't seen this, Lewin, so we're not going to talk about this in any detail. What did you think? Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie. You're the Uncharted fan here, Jacob, so I want to jump to you in a sec. I mean, I'm not that I'm not an Uncharted fan, but like, I'm not as invested in the Uncharted franchise, so I just want to give my quick take on this film. And it's a very quick take. I don't have a lot to say about this film. I think this movie is very good, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed this movie. However, I didn't really get a lot of Uncharted vibes from it. And also, I'm going to stand by what I have always said. The casting is terrible. I think Tom Holland is great, but whatever character he's playing, but he's not Nathan Drake, in my view. And also Mark Wahlberg, why is he in this movie? I'm sorry, but why is Mark Wahlberg in this movie? Outside of the casting, though, if you were to just look at this as a purely fun action-adventure film with Tom Holland, I think it's really good.
It's fun.
I think it gets very ridiculous at the end, even by Uncharted standards. I genuinely thought I was watching a Fast and Furious movie. I'm not going to say any more on that, because I genuinely want Lewin to experience this, because it's fucking hilarious. But like, I do think it was way too ridiculous, even by Uncharted standards. That I just...
Particularly the PS3 era ones, they got pretty ridiculous too.
Yeah, they did.
But I think that's part of the charm of Uncharted, I think, too, as well, by the way. But I just think this was just too stupid. It was Fast and Furious with pirate ships, and it was weird.
It wasn't quite stupid enough for me to give a recommendation like that.
I don't know. It just reminded me I thought I was watching Fast and Furious. That's just how ridiculous it was. But as an overall film, I really enjoyed the rest of it. Actually, I really like Chloe Frazer in this movie. I think she is great. I think her accent keeps changing between a New Zealand and an Australian accent, and she can't quite get the accent consistent. But I do think...
I was going to say the exact same thing.
She is great.
But yeah.
She changes in the middle of a sentence. Did you notice that? Like, she'll start a sentence in one accent and then halfway through it change to another one. I was like, what are you? Are you Australian or are you Kiwi? What's going on here? But it's whatever. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, go ahead.
My thoughts on the movie overall are positive. Like, if I had like a scale of like where I would like give movies a grade, where it's like must watch, should watch, could watch, skip it, actively avoid it, and stuff like that, it's an easy could watch. Like, if you go, oh, should I watch this? I go, yeah, you can. It's an all right time to spend it with a movie. It's fine. But I think if I have anything to really say about what I feel about the quality of it, is that when you look at Uncharted, and Tomb Raider is the exact same thing. Tomb Raider and Uncharted are to video games what Indiana Jones is to film. Like, I don't care what anyone says, Uncharted 2 like is every bit as special to the medium as Raiders of the Lost Ark is, or Uncharted 4, or something like that. So when you look at Uncharted movies, like, is Uncharted
the Angel of Darkness?
When you look at Uncharted movies, like, oh, is the Uncharted movie as good as Indiana Jones? No, not even close. However, I will actually want to give the movie props for being every bit as I think it could be, given the circumstances. Those circumstances being the directing, the casting, and the writing. It's like if you had heard, like I remember everyone heard, oh, it's from the director of Venom, even though he directed Zombieland 1 and 2, which are movies I really love. It's from the director of Venom. Yeah. It's from the director of Venom. It's from the writers of Men in Black International, and they cast Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg as Sully. You just immediately have that knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, this is gonna be shit, and then you watch it and you go, okay, it's not shit. It's just there are mistakes made, but I think there is a genuine attempt to make a really, really good Uncharted movie with the creative team that they have.
I will say Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg do actually have good chemistry in this movie. It's just the characters are not the characters, which is fine.
Here's my controversial opinion, actually. We're not in disagreement. Mark Wahlberg is completely miscast. He does not feel or act like Sully in the slightest. However,
imagine casting Mark Wahlberg just in anything.
But I'm gonna give Tom Holland actually props for this, because I think it's trying to get over the hurdle that we are seeing a Nathan Drake in his 20s is what's actually hurting people's perception of Tom Holland's performance in this movie. I think if you take his character in the Uncharted games 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then by Nolan North, and then you take the character from the flashback sequences of 4 and 3, where he's like 10 or 15 and stuff like that, then put them all in order from youngest to oldest. So you got the kid from one from the flashbacks in Uncharted 4, then the flashbacks ones from Uncharted 3 where he's 15, then Tom Holland, then Nolan North. You can kind of, I can see the resemblance and go, all right, child, teens, 20s, 30s. And it does make enough sense for me where I can make that easy bridge and go, okay, Tom Holland's a 20-something Nathan Drake. It's not too foreign for me to make that leap and see him as a younger version of that character. It's just the fact that he's a younger version of that character is what's got most people confused and having to have a little hurdle to get over, I think. I do think if you like Antonio Banderas, I think is better than some of the villains from the games. Is better than like Gabriel Roman or stuff like that. So he's quite fitting for an Uncharted villain. And Chloe Fraser,
he's
even
not
though
really a villain though, really though, is he?
No. Braddock is more the villain. But like even then, it's like, are you going to say that Braddock is a worse villain than Navarro from Drake's Fortune? I don't think so. I think they're both equally as uninteresting.
I thought she was fine. I thought she was fine. I also like that actress. She's in season 2 and 3? Or season 3. That is a fucking great show. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but You is really great. Anyway, whatever.
Of course, we all got to like Chloe Fraser in the movie, even though she could, in the next movie, need a dialect coach to...
Definitely work on that accent. But outside of that, I thought she was great.
I think because with Australian accents, we're like the difference between American and British is that British speak from the back of the mouth, Americans speak from the front, and Australia's kind of that weird middle child where the sound kind of sits in the middle of your mouth, and I think that's what is inconsistent about what's the actress's name? But the one who plays Chloe is that the sound moves from forward back. It doesn't stay in the consistent spot, and I think a dialect coach in a sequel can actually help.
Fair enough. Well, look, let's get on to Lego Star Wars. This is just really, instead of being like a Lego Star Wars episode, it's turned into just a general catch-up episode.
I'm okay with this.
You know what? I'm fine with this because I think there's not a hell of a lot to say about Lego Star Wars. It's not like a thing, but it's good. It's worth talking about. I'm just going to do a quick rapid-fire catch-up if you guys don't mind. So, like I said, I played Intermission. I enjoyed it, especially the last 10 minutes. I was crying. I'm not even kidding. I was tearing up at watching my favorite characters interact with each other and nothing happened, and it was just amazing. The other thing I watched is I've been watching some Doctor Who because I've been collecting the classic series collection box sets. I've been watching that. Mostly the special features on those, but I've been watching that. It's been a good time. I'm currently watching Series 12, which is the first Tom Baker series. Speaking of Doctor Who, I'm also rewatching Clara's run, and I am currently just finished Series 8, which is the first Peter Capaldi season, and I am now up to Last Christmas. Very excited to watch that. What else have I been doing? Lewin, actually, both Lewin and myself have watched Years and Years recently, which is a Russell T Davies show. Very good stuff there. Maybe we might talk about it. Why don't we do that next catch-up segment, Lewin? Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
And the other thing I watched, which I want to bring up because I was genuinely surprised by this movie, was actually the movie Kate on Netflix with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I thought that was a really good movie. It's basically a movie where she basically plays an assassin, and she gets poisoned, and she basically has 24 hours to live, and so the film plot just follows her kind of like trying to find out why she's been poisoned and who she's been poisoned by, and it's a pretty generic like action movie, but it's a good one. It's a fun one, so I'd recommend watching that, and I think she's great in it as well. So and yeah, that's my catch-up segment. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Do you know what else we've been watching? Playing. We've been playing Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, a very long time ago for me now. I decided to take my time with it because I didn't want to peak on the game too early, mainly because I wanted to play as Ahsoka, and then I played as Ahsoka for 10 minutes. So I must have peaked on the game because I haven't touched it since Ahsoka came out, that 10 minutes. But let's just go on. What are our thoughts on Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga? Lewin, we can start with you. Let's go the other way around.
Right.
This time.
I've 100% of the game. I had a grand quest where I wanted to platinum every Star Wars game before.
Oh
May
yeah.
4th.
I saw the spam of
Trophy notifications
on my thing saying that you were getting trophies.
Yes,
on my main PlayStation
I
page,
platinumed 10 Star Wars games on May the 4th. The very final one I platinumed, because I did it all in order, was Lego Star Wars. It was a fun ride. It is probably the most fun I've had with a Lego game in a very long time. Fun attention to detail. The humor wasn't always just that random. Modern Lego has this weird, look at what funny animal is doing in background humor. It was nice to not have as much of that this time.
I'm gonna say, I don't know if this is controversial or not, because I think this is kind of universally agreed, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. The Lego games were funnier before they had voices.
I agree.
Because without the voices, they had to rely on the animation, and that's how they had to get the comedy across. And I do think the Lego games were funnier back then, but it's neither here nor there, really. Yeah. Anyway, what about the game?
I enjoyed just all of it. I think the weakest trilogy to me was actually the original trilogy, if I'm honest. The strongest was the prequel trilogy, I find. Yes, those are my initial thoughts.
That's interesting.
It is.
We'll circle back around to that. Jacob, you can go ahead.
I think the prequel trilogy for me was actually the weakest because, like, I'll give it this. I was playing 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. So I was playing with fighting the stormtroopers in the original trilogy, and like kind of picking up on like, oh, how do you string together combos and how do you do this, and you get a really nice flow with how lightsabers work in Lego Star Wars by playing fighting against stormtroopers. Then I played the prequel ones, and droids go down in like 1 or 2 hits, and I'm like, oh, everything I just learned was for naught. I could have just played the prequel trilogy first, then the originals, then the sequels, and then it would be a nice progression where, oh yeah, just carve through these like butter. They only go down in 1 or 2 hits, and then as you go through the films in chronological order, that's how you build up like your skill and how to actually properly use the lightsaber in the game. But yeah, that's what I thought anyway.
Fair enough.
Well, I was actually just gonna say, I think you can tell this game has had a lot of development issues. I mean, this is all well documented. It's not a controversial thing to say. Like, this game was in development hell, and it was a tough one to get out. I played this game in chronological order, and I will say the game opened up with the original trilogy. And what I mean by that is we suddenly got access to more classes. And obviously it makes sense with the prequel trilogy because, it's a very Jedi-centric story. And so it makes sense. But I did find I did enjoy the game a lot more once the game opened up. The game is very restrictive in the prequel trilogy. And I just think once you hit that original trilogy and you start unlocking these new abilities and these new character classes, which if you have the DLC you have access to immediately, but I think just in terms of from a progression standpoint, I do think the original trilogy is the best from that perspective, gameplay wise, because it opens the game up, and also, by the way, as much as I don't like the story, a couple of my favorite levels were actually in the sequel trilogy, believe it or not.
As well.
There's some really great levels in those kind of like that section of the game. So I enjoyed that. Again, story-wise, my favorite ones to play through and the ones I was most hyped about was, of course, the prequel trilogy. I really enjoyed playing through those. My biggest issue with the prequel trilogy as a whole is it seemed very rushed to me compared to the rest of the game. Like, literally episode 3 is like 4 boss fights. There's no like actual levels to play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. It's just more like, oh, here's a boss fight. Oh, look, here's another boss fight. They're not hard or anything, but like, the levels were really short, and that was an issue across the game, by the way, is the levels are so short. I wasn't personally. I'm going to be probably a lot more, as per usual. I'm going to be more critical on this than it probably deserves to be. But like, to me, the open world stuff didn't work in terms of the story implementation. I found the 3 trilogies were so inconsistent with how much of the game story of the story of Star Wars was told through levels and how much was told through the open world. And I think the prequel trilogy is the worst told part of the game in terms of the story. I don't think it's as much of a criticism when you consider the fact that you don't really need to pay attention to the story because you already know it. But I think I would have preferred more levels with more of the story told in cutscenes. Because if you think about it this way, you can only replay 5 levels because there's only 5 levels, right? You can only replay the 5 levels when the majority of the storyline, including cutscenes, by the way, aren't a part of those levels. What if you wanted to replay all of episode 3?
Yeah.
You have to start the game again in a new save and play through episode 1 and 2 to be able to do that. And personally, compared to the old LEGO Star Wars games where the story was told in the levels, I just don't think that aspect works. Personally, I didn't vibe with it. However, I do like having these open worlds to explore. I had a lot of fun just chilling, exploring these open worlds, and I enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy the walking and talking, I will say that. I will say, though, just purely from aesthetic reasons and the fact that I'm connected the most with the prequels was my favourite part to play. I loved playing through all of that.
I will rephrase my earlier statement. I don't.
Yes.
The prequels were the one I had the most fun with. That I don't think they're the strongest. I will change that. Listening to these criticisms makes me remember that.
Yeah.
I had the most fun.
I mean, it's
with
been
the
a while
prequels.
since we've all played the game, right?
Yeah.
I played through, to put it this way, I played through the prequels in one day. It was the first day, release day. I was meant to work that day, by the way. It was a working day for me, but I was working at home, and it was a very quiet day. So I literally did an edit in the morning, and there was literally nothing for me to do for the rest of the day. So I just played through the entire prequel part of the game in that day. And I really, really enjoyed it. I took my time with the original and sequel trilogies. It took a lot longer with the sequel trilogy, just mainly because, again, I'm not a fan of the story or those characters, so there wasn't as incentive to smash through it. But I did enjoy playing some levels. Like, I'm gonna say, like, I think Rise of Skywalker had some good levels in it.
Yeah.
I loved the final level on Exegol, the boss fight with Emperor Palpatine. I thought that was fun. I really enjoyed that. And then having the Knights of Ren come out and you had to like kind of fight them, and so good. So good. I do think the boss fights though themselves are pretty they're alright. They're not like,
I think the most interesting one, even though it's probably the weakest, like mechanically, is how the Battle of Crate is just a quick time event. But I think what makes that scene so funny is that every time you successfully evade one of Kylo Ren's swings, there's like that Lego humor of like, "You're cheating! How you do this? I hit you! I saw it myself." And I'm like, that's actually quite funny.
yeah, I do think I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed the new style. Actually, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
This is a completely different Lego game to any other Lego game that has ever been made. And not just with, like, the open worlds, but, like, this is the first to have a third-person perspective. This is the first one that's had its complete, combat completely revamped. What did you guys think of that?
Jacob Doer.
I really enjoyed it from a design aspect. However, I don't think like having an over the shoulder third person shooter in a Lego game is like quite creative, and I really like that. But like, there's no way that the third person shooting mechanics are really they're great on their own merits if you try and compare them to other third-person shooters. Like, it's just the fact that it's a really good Lego Star Wars game. That's what gives it the edge. But if it wasn't for the fact that it's Lego or Lego Star Wars or as a Star Wars IP or stuff like that, I don't think the third-person shooting mechanics or anything like that is truly anything remarkable. It's just that the fact that it's a really, really good Lego game and a really good Star Wars game, that's what gives it the edge in terms of gameplay.
Oh yeah, This is a great Star Wars game.
It is.
Yes.
This is a fantastic Star Wars game. Could you imagine if we got something on the level of Jedi Fallen Order, but it was this? Oh my god. What a game. Like, could you imagine playing through 9 films in like a proper fucking Star Wars game?
It was actually something I was actually thinking about halfway through the game. I was like, this would be cool if it was like full scale, not Lego. It's already cool when it is Lego.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I really enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed going around the worlds. I enjoyed playing the levels and all of that. It's, again, I have issues with it. But like as a whole package, it's something we very rarely see these days as well, is a complete game. You don't get that. Like, most games don't release as finished games, and then you have to wait like 2 or 3 years for it to be good. Like, it's and not only that, most games don't release with half of the game's content actually available to play without having to buy it. Like, the DLC in this game is just extra characters. It's not like it's whole content from the game. Like, I don't know, like fucking Assassin's Creed, or anything that Ubisoft makes, basically.
But like most of the DLC content is like for most players free. I think if you buy the game physically, like every single copy that I've seen has that Lando sticker on the front where it's like has the classic pack, and I'm like, oh cool, so I redeem the classic pack. I'm like, oh, I'll probably get the 6 or 7 characters, and then I looked at the DLC list of all the packs that were out and which ones that were coming, and it had purchased right next to it because the classic pack is literally like a season pass that works for all upcoming characters.
Yeah, I'm
like,
pretty sure that
cool.
the main edition of the game, especially if you're buying physical, I'm pretty sure is the deluxe edition or whatever they call it, the one with the DLC. I think digital, there's multiple versions. So with digital, you can buy the standard version without the DLC if you want to, but it's cool. Do you know what I was thinking, Lewin? Damn, this would be a good Lego Doctor Who game.
God damn it.
The entire time I was playing it, I was like, this format, this works. This could be a Lego Doctor Who game. TT, please, just make one. Just make it. I don't care. I don't care anymore about any of your other franchises because you've made every franchise under the sun as a video game. It's now time to make Doctor Who.
Please do it.
All right, let's do it. Back to Lego's actual Star Wars, though. This is, like I said, a very good Star Wars game. And I really enjoyed having the Clone Wars actors back.
Yes.
As well in the prequel trilogy.
It was fun having Matt Lanter as Anakin. One of my continuous favorite gags of the game was just randomly throughout sections, people or Anakin would be like, I don't like sand.
Yeah, the recurring gag, yeah. Especially right at the end, when Rey is like hearing all the voices of the Jedi, and the only thing you hear is, I don't like sand, and then Yoda's like, I agree. It's so dumb. I loved it so much. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really have like a hell of a lot to say about it. I do enjoy. I guess one thing we haven't touched on too much is the different classes. There's a lot of different classes in this game, and a lot of characters in this game. Some would say probably an absurd amount of characters.
Yeah.
And for me, this is probably why the reason I haven't played it a hell of a lot is because for me, I don't have personally, and this is just a me thing, this isn't a criticism of the game, but personally, I don't have the incentive to go and unlock all these characters because I already have characters unlocked in those classes. Their abilities are all the same, and I've already unlocked all the characters I want. And plus, also, I've got Ahsoka now, so there's literally no reason for me to play as any other character in the game. But the point I'm making here is there's no incentive for me to go and unlock all these other characters now. I don't care. You know what I mean? So, like, for me personally, I'm probably not going to play to do that. There's still some characters I want to unlock. There's still a few there. But for the most part, once I've done that, I'm probably not going to bother chasing the rest. I'm just going to leave it. I do want to unlock some more ships, though. I want to unlock the Ghost. And really bothers me that the Ghost is in the ship, but none of the in the game, but none of the Rebel characters are in the game.
It is a bit odd,
really
isn't
bothers
it?
me a lot. Like, I just want a Lego... I'm considering buying... I'm not even joking when I say this. I'm considering buying Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens again solely so I can get the Rebels DLC, so I can have the Rebels characters in a video game. I'm not even kidding when I say that.
I mean, it can't hurt, because I liked Lego Star Wars Force Awakens. I liked all the Lego Star Wars games.
I respectfully disagree. I do not like The Force Awakens at all.
I don't even remember it, so it's neither here nor there.
I will just say on the mechanics part from earlier. So as you said, the engine was built with the game, and sometimes I think it's painfully obvious that shows. There's this feeling that everything was put in but not really put together. Like, I don't know how to explain this properly. There are certain puzzles where, you're meant to build the blocks up, you're meant to do this and do that. There's very specific steps that it's obvious you're meant to take. But because the game isn't all there sometimes, you can take so many different avenues to get to that puzzle solution, and sometimes I think that's intentional. But a lot of the time I actually don't think it was. And I love those moments where it's not intentional.
Mm-hmm. The only glitch I had, I did have a couple of glitches, just like minor things that didn't really affect anything, or it was just like a visual thing, and I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. But there was one time in the entire game, and this is actually, like, a lot of people reported this happening to them, that there were like moments in the game that they just could not progress. And to me, that only ever happened once, and it was right at the start of the Phantom Menace, before you go play the first level, like before you go down to the Gungan City and then go and play the first level. We were at the top at the lake, and the notification to progress just would not appear.
Oh.
Like, you know how you got to that spot and it says, do you want to go to the Gungan City or whatever, you press X, just would not appear.
Oh.
And Jar Jar was just standing there and kept saying, we need to go to Gungan City, or whatever the fuck he says. And I'm like, I am trying to do this, but I cannot do this. You are not letting me do this. And I tried reloading the save, it wouldn't fix it. The only way it would fix it was I had to physically quit the game and then restart the game from the PlayStation menu, and it worked.
Yeah, I had a couple of times where I had to restart the game to get things flowing smoothly again.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's been fixed now. I don't really care, to be honest, because I think as a whole package, it's such a solid package. As a whole, that I think like minor little things like that, it doesn't matter. But I really like just the game as a whole. I enjoyed playing this game as a whole. And
sorry.
No, you go ahead. I've got nothing really to say.
I think for the most part, the glitches and stuff like that for me were just mostly like visual bugs and errors that just work themselves out by just ignoring them or going past them. I did have one crash though. I was the bit in Empire Strikes Back where you doing that slow walking section behind Lando when you've just landed, and you're like, oh, you're going through Bespin and you get to go to that little market thing. I went into the market to start the next mission, and the game crashed. I'm like, you motherfucker.
I did have the game crash for me as well a couple of times. But again, it happened so infrequently that I just didn't even really care when it did happen.
Also, I don't know if anyone else has this, but I played it on PS5.
Yeah.
But my disc is the PS4 version, and I don't know if anyone else's games does this, but
is it
every time
is the PS5 version?
What it does is I've downloaded the PS5 upgrade, so I'm playing the PS5 version, but PS5 upgrades still need the disc in there to prove that you have purchased and that it's yours. Every time I put the disc in, it immediately wants to start installing the PS4 version, and every other game that I've got gives me the option to do that because it knows that I've got the PS5 version downloaded. I'm going to play that one. I just need the disc because it needs to be the disc in there for DRM reasons. But like every time I put Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga in, it immediately starts installing the PS4 version. I'm like, I just don't want to do that.
So both you and I had major glitches outside of the game because
I did see people talk about that on Twitter too.
That's weird. I had to redeem my code to get the season pass from the deluxe edition, but when I redeemed it, it didn't redeem the season pass. It redeemed only the classic characters pack. So when they released the first free DLC, it was still asking me to pay for them and wouldn't let me download them. Even though I'd put the code in, and every time I tried to put the code in again, it was like, no, you don't have the season pass. You only got the classic character pack. I'm like, what? And like, it took them 2 weeks, but they automatically fixed it without me having to do anything. But it was kind of that sounds like it was kind of a botched release.
Yeah, see, that's kind of odd because I think you've got one too, and I think we've all got one. Is they actually sent an apology letter to either our emails or our PlayStation notifications or something like that, telling us, oh, we fixed an error with PlayStation purchases. You can now download your DLC characters. Okay. But I had no issues downloading any of my DLC characters from them.
It was mildly frustrating when I really wanted to play as Mando to begin with.
Do you know what was the best glitch in the game though? It was the duplication
Damn
glitch
straight.
with Baby Yoda.
I
Really hope in the latest update where they brought back I really hope they haven't patched that out because it's amazing.
I actually used that for my platinum photo, or I tried to. The last trophy I got was for starting a bar fight between 5 people, which you get by just using Jedi Mind Trick on the patrons of the cantina. And I just got Anakin, Luke, and Rey all lined up in a row. Did it and then started wailing on people and popped the platinum there. But if you look at the photo as it popped, it's just a blur of lightsabers and motion blur.
This has been a long episode, but I'm going to call this episode the big catch-up episode. That's going to be the title. I'm not going to put Lego Star Wars in the title like I was before. This is just the big catch-up episode. This is just chilling out, talking about shit for like 3 hours.
Did all 3 of you watch new Doctor Strange movie?
Nah.
Yes.
Oh, well, good thing we didn't have to review it because Laura hasn't seen it. But
I know the big spoilers. Well, when I say the big spoilers, I know the cameo spoilers. Like I know that our fan casting of Reed Richards has come true. I know that Captain Carter is in there. I know the cameo stuff. I don't know plot stuff, but I know cameo stuff.
Yeah, am I allowed to give just quick thoughts on what I thought of that movie?
Yeah.
Loved it.
It's been
I agree.
It's interesting. It's been quite a divisive movie though, which was really interesting.
This probably is a pattern that you've seen me through discussions on Star Wars or Last and stuff like that. For me, the more divisive, the better, because that's how you break from the norms and you stop things from being formulaic. But I think, as a film, it does have flaws. I think it doesn't really follow the 3-act structure very cohesively as much as I'd like. There's a MacGuffin in the movie that they don't really elaborate as being important enough. However, everything else I love. I love how one thing that's most impressive is that when we started getting into the phase 4, everyone started kind of thinking what direction is phase 4 going in now that the Infinity Saga is over. And for me, phase 4 and beyond can be doesn't matter, don't build to anything. We're not building to more Avengers movies. You can make whatever the hell you want. So when they bring in directors like Chloe Zhao for Eternals or stuff like that, you'd think, oh wow, look at all this high caliber Academy Award winning talent. And then they kind of just they're just forced by Marvel to make movies that are just kind of just the same old thing. If you had told me that Eternals was from the director of Nomadland, I wouldn't believe you. I'd have to actually look up myself and be like, oh shit, it is. And then I couldn't tell you for the life of me who directed Black Widow. I couldn't tell you who directed Shang-Chi, even though the first 2 acts of that movie are stellar. It's just the 3rd act that is just generic Marvel CGI stuff. So when they were bringing on Sam Raimi, I was like, look, I'm just happy to see another Sam Raimi movie because we haven't gotten one since Oz the Great and Powerful in 2013, and he's one of my all-time favorite directors. So I was just happy.
Did Sam Raimi not do The Grudge?
No, he produced it.
Oh,
there's so many that he's produced, but he hasn't directed one since Oz the Great and Powerful. I was just happy to see a Sam Raimi movie again, but I didn't really think of the genuine repercussions that could happen if it was if they just made him do a generic run-of-the-mill mid-tier Marvel movie. But I think they trusted him enough with Spider-Man and stuff like that to really give him the reins, because this is front and back a Sam Raimi movie, and I was so happy that it is a genuine Sam Raimi movie. The first 45 minutes are straight up Spider-Man Sam Raimi in its tone, direction, camera movements, editing. It's all classic Marvel Sam Raimi filmmaking, and I was so happy to see that. But then there's a scene.
It's all Evil Dead from there, baby.
It is straight up Drag Me to Hell, Evil Dead 2, even Army of Darkness, Sam Raimi. From the minute that Carmitage gets attacked, you see that bit in the trailer where the smoke is coming over and there's that like green Minotaur dude, and like from that sequence all the way to the end, it is like straight up Evil Dead 2, Drag Me to Hell, Sam Raimi, and I ate up every second, even though when you look at it from like a script standpoint, it's like, okay, it doesn't kind of come together fully, and some MacGuffins kind of just like are just there to progress plot points along, but I didn't really care about any of that because I was just so happy to see that Sam Raimi got to make a Sam Raimi movie in the MCU.
It gets so weirdly terrifying at points.
I know. It's not like, oh, the most terrifying. Like, any of the Evil Dead movies or Drag Me to Hell or stuff like that, they're scarier than Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. But it is by far the scariest MCU movie. I'm actually surprised because when New Mutants was coming out, it was like, oh, they're making a horror X-Men movie. And I'm like, not making a horror X-Men movie. And you watch
New Mutants was a horror movie, just not in the way they wanted.
And you watch the New Mutants and you go...
Yeah, it took like fucking 6 years to release.
Yeah. But then, you know, like, oh, we're going to make an MCU horror movie. I'm like, you're not going to make an MCU horror movie. And like, as far as PG-13 MCU stuff goes, like, it goes hard.
Yeah. There was a point where I was like, is this rated MA?
Yeah.
This feels distinctly not allowed for kids.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited to see like the discourse, like back in the days of like Indiana Jones Temple of Doom with like hearts getting ripped out and shit in movies that are like PG. I'm excited to see like the discourse of like, I took my kids to see this and they were traumatized. I was actually in the theater and I was sitting next to my brother-in-law, and he sat next to a family of 3. I didn't see them, but I noticed when the movie was over, I looked over, and the seat in the middle was a booster seat, and it was empty. And I'm like, was there a kid sitting there? He goes, yeah, we sat next to a family, a father and his 2 kids. I'm like, oh, how'd they go? And my brother-in-law said, they left halfway through. That kid was like 5 or 6 and he was just not having it. He was scared, and I'm like, yes.
Lol.
It was. I also love the movie. I fully agree with you, Jacob.
I will watch it when it comes onto Disney Plus. Yeah, let's just wrap this up. We talked about a lot of shit. I don't know how long this episode's gone on for.
Oh.
Yes, but Jacob, thank you for coming on once again.
Indeed.
We'll have to get you back sometime again soon to talk about something or other.
You can find us on all our regular streaming platforms.
Yes, and also added, we actually have a Turning Point Podcast YouTube channel where all the episodes are available in video form. You can go and subscribe to that. Suspiciously, that channel has 700 subscribers. Don't know what's going on with that. But hey, you can go do that. All the previous episodes of the Turning Point Podcast are available in video form there, as well as on podcast platforms. That's the end of that. Did I do good? I think I did good.
You did good.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. Let's wrap this up. I'll probably have to edit this bit down a little bit, but let's wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching and doing all of the things. And yeah, Lewin, take us out.
It has been an absolute pleasure. Everybody have yourselves a good night, day, whatever, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip flip.